The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
Childlike at best. Childlike at best. Childlike at best is a podcast with Mike. Childlike at best. Da, 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 da.
What's up, besties? This is Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. I am still the second part of that statement. This is episode 5. Holy cow, you could be listening to any of the 15 other podcasts, but you're listening to this podcast, and thank you so much for listening. This week, I am chatting with Jeremy Berges. He is a stand-up comedian and an improviser. This guy is so sweet and so funny. Love this guy. Love watching him because you never really know what you're going to get with Jeremy. And that's one of the more fun things about him. Every show that he does is very different, and his characters are very outrageous and outlandish. So much so that even in our serial review, we get into a little scene, a little improv scene as well, and that's super fun. We talk about a lot of things. We talk about our childhood. We talk about the things that we liked growing up, and then we talk also about stand-up and improv. So please enjoy my friend, stand-up comedian, improviser, the amazing Jeremy Berges. Hey everybody, this is Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. Hey guys, guess what? I'm Mike Valdes, and today I have a very special guest with me, Jeremy. What's up, Jeremy?
What's up, Mike? It's really good to see you, man. A long time no see. I feel like we don't spend enough time with each other, but we know we live separate lives. You're a successful actor. I work in a warehouse, even though I don't want to because I was used to working in an office, but it's construction, and I'm a big guy, so they put me in the warehouse. They still pay me the same, though, so I'm not complaining, and they let me work weekends. So, I mean, it's not that much to complain about.
This is going to be such a fun episode. I feel like I'm only going to have to ask 3 questions.
Exactly.
So, Jeremy, before I ask you the first question, we like to take a Flintstones vitamin before we start anything.
I love these, man.
So, I have the Flintstones Complete Gummies. And
That's why I love you, buddy.
Yeah, man. As you're taking that Flintstones vitamin, can you please tell me where you grew up?
The first 7 years of my life, I lived here, and my mom left me with my grandparents when I was real young, so I'd spend weekends with my dad. And the funniest thing about that, now that you bring the Flintstones vitamins out, like, do you remember, like, the pill-like Flintstone vitamins they used to have that was chalky?
Yeah, the chalk ones.
Oh, my God, the chalk ones. I remember he had those. He didn't have the gummy ones. And I'd ask him, and then I was like, Dad, why don't you have the gummy ones? He's like, the chalky ones are healthier. I'm like, but in my head, I'm thinking at a young age, on what basis? What are you basing this on?
It's probably because it tastes worse.
Yeah.
It has to be better for you if it tastes
better,
worse.
Like vegetables. Like it has
exactly.
to be better
it has to be better for you.
Yeah.
That's so true.
And then I lived in Maryland for a bit, like 10 years until I started high school. And then when I was living in high school, or when I started high school, I wish I was living in, no I don't, no one wants to live in high school, ever. I don't know how they do it in boarding schools. I moved to Georgia, and I spent 10 years from high school through college in Georgia. And then from Georgia, I moved back to here.
Where in Georgia?
Conyers, like 90 minutes out from Atlanta.
Okay.
Conyers isn't an amazing place. Like, I remember when I moved there, someone was like, yeah, Dakota Fanning's from here. I'm like, has she been back?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay then.
Johnny Depp's from Miramar. He's not here hanging out.
Exactly. Johnny Depp has to come back to Miramar. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah. I just love it back home here in Miramar. So this is a question I like to ask everyone when we're getting started as well. Who would you say you were at school? What was the group that you sat with at lunch?
Like for a while, I didn't really have a group. It was kind of just like me and by myself because I didn't really feel like other people got me. I mean, there were mutual interests, like Pokemon was out,
sure,
Digimon, and
same here,
Power Rangers. And I remember like really like there was always like this moral test that they'd put you and tell you who your favorite Power Ranger was. And if you didn't pick right, you would just be like ousted. And I was like literally the only two I ever thought of was like whoever like the Red Ranger was and whoever the Special Ranger was. So it would be like Tommy or Jason, Series 1. Jason or Tommy, the one where Jason came back and he was the gold Zeo Ranger.
Yeah, the Zeo Rangers.
I remember people forget about those, man. And then I remember one time I picked wrong, and I was like, yeah, I really enjoy. I think Ninja Storm was out. I was like, I really love the Red Thunder Ranger. And I was like, wrong choice, and I wasn't talking to anyone for 3 months. And like, it's just his costume was cooler.
Kids are so cruel.
His costume was just cooler.
I don't know if you've seen those shows recently.
I haven't.
If you see Mighty Morphin Power Rangers now, it's quite possibly the funniest thing because they wear clothing that remind the audience not only what color ranger they are, what dinosaur it represents.
Exactly.
So, like, where are you finding T-Rex pants?
Exactly. Where are you finding the pants? And on top of that, Mike, do you remember how, like, the music would change for specific people?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember, like, if you would listen, you'd hear flutes as the Yellow Ranger would come out.
Yeah.
And then, like, the music would get really preppy.
Vulcan Skull would have the...
Exactly. And then, like, the funniest one is when the Black Ranger would come out, because it's on YouTube. The Black Ranger, he's just, like, hip-hop music, he's dancing. Morphs, and then as he's dancing, the putties are looking around, and then he starts fighting the putties. And I remember looking back at it, and I was like, "No, you're bullshitting." And I looked at it, and he's literally dancing. Black Ranger.
That's 100%
dancing every time he moves.
That is 100% how he would fight people,
Exactly.
which is
He'd
so
just be like,
weird.
He'd punch and kick, and I'm like, "What?" He's popping and locking as he's fighting, and it's ridiculous.
That's so true, and it's like. And the Blue Ranger, I feel like, unless he was in his suit, he wasn't doing anything. Like, most of it was like, I'm scared, and then the Yellow Ranger would help him out, or whatever,
Exactly.
you know?
And she would just throw. The Yellow Ranger was really good at throwing her size, throwing her weapons, and she would magically get them back.
Exactly.
At least Kimberly had a bow and arrow with magical bolts.
Yeah.
What was Trini's excuse?
I
Zach's
don't know.
gun was also an axe.
That's true. That's very true. I remember that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think, other than being Tommy's girlfriend, I don't think Kimberly had much of a purpose.
Why was she there?
She was kind of just there to be the Pink Ranger. Trini was the coolest.
She was.
Because she was the one that actually knew karate and like knew how to fight.
Exactly.
Kimberly was just there.
Yeah. People were like, "Oh, it's not racist because she's Asian." I'm like, I don't know.
It's entirely racist.
Because everyone fit the cliche and the stereotype.
Even in that the Red Ranger was a redneck from Texas.
Exactly. Named Jason.
Yeah.
The most redneck name
Exactly.
you could think of. And he was a Red Ranger.
Yeah, it was racist through and through to all races.
The funny thing, like the villain Tommy, when Tommy came in, it just like the outsider guy, green, so he's not new to the area, so you call a green person. And then like what was his? The Dragon Zord. Literally the coolest Zord you could see, and then he played a flute that shot lasers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, why isn't he the leader? And lasers would shoot out. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Dude.
And then
that Power Ranger fever was palpable when we
Right?
were kids, dude.
I was so angry at my mom because she got me the Black Rangers to cassette tape, and I wanted Green with Envy. Mom, get me Green with Envy, the one where Tommy comes in and him and Jason becomes friends, and Jason gets the golden shield. I remember that.
Was there a tape that was just the Black Ranger?
It was like the Black Ranger like holding the axe like
and he
this.
like teaches you how to dance and stuff.
Like literally, you just see him do a flip, break dance, and then that's how the tape starts.
What the heck?
And then I'm sorry. And then it was like, do you remember VR Troopers?
I love VR Troopers.
There was a preview for VR Troopers before VR Troopers came out. Like
Yeah.
on the tape, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I remember it lasted like one season, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like
think-
1 or 2 seasons. That's the other thing too. A lot of these shows from when we were kids only lasted 13 episodes, but they played them till it ran dry.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure they only made 3 episodes of Big Bad Beetleborgs,
Exactly.
but everyone remembers it.
All of them.
All 3 of them.
Knights of Tirnanog, like medieval Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers those.
Yes, the medieval Power Rangers. Holy cow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So would you say that Power Rangers was like your big fandom?
Power Rangers was huge for
Yeah.
me, man.
I mean, I talked with a previous guest, Reggie, about this. Like, Fox Kids was killing it when
Right?
we were kids. So it was Power Rangers, Bobby's World, that Howie
Bobby's
Mandel,
World.
the Howie
Remember the
Mandel
Street
show?
Sharks?
Street Sharks.
She was like rip off of Ninja Turtles, but good on all the rest.
That's 100%
Street Sharks.
exactly what it was.
She was like Street Sharks, Battletoads, like all these amphibious creatures.
Dude, so Street Sharks, I don't know if you remember this, but whenever there was a popular cartoon, they would try to make a fruit gummies version of it. Street Sharks was like the highest seller. If you go to Publix or any Kroger, wherever, whatever grocery store, you will still find Street Sharks.
Are you kidding me?
In the fruit section.
Wow.
In the fruit snack section, yeah. It's crazy.
Street Sharks, man. Who was the one where the kid had the magic hat? And he had all like a monkey was with him, and then like a barbarian.
Man, you're naming every show, so I really don't remember.
And the big ones are like for me, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, Recess,
Chippendale,
Fillmore.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Fillmore was cool.
DuckTales, the original DuckTales. Oh my gosh, the original. Oh, so many, man. So many.
So you were a Disney Afternoon kid.
Disney Afternoon, bro. Gargoyles.
What
network was that on? Because that went on Toon Disney and that was like on Fox too.
No. It was on both.
Yeah.
Because I want to say that there was a time where Disney owned part of Fox Kids, or the same channel on Saturdays was like a Disney Channel or a Toon Disney kind of block.
Toon Disney was having,
because they had like Gargoyles, Goof Troop, and like all these different things. It feels like all the Disney Afternoon songs were all sung by Boyz II Men.
Exactly.
And Goof Troop is the one that really sounds like it, because it's like, it's Goof Troop, but will I stick together?
Exactly.
Like, why are we being so soulful about this?
Yeah. It's like, remember an extremely goofy movie?
Yeah.
Listen to that soundtrack and I'm like, it's an all-black cast.
I mean, dude, I'll be real with you. I saw a Goofy movie when I was probably we're around the same age. So it came out when I was like 8 or 9, something like that. And I remember watching a Goofy movie and being like, I want to be Powerline.
Exactly.
Powerline was the reason why I started playing music. For real.
Powerline was the coolest animated music character ever. Let's
talk about different movies. What kind of movies were you into growing up?
The weirdest thing, I would have watched Toon Disney. I visited my dad, and like my dad showed me Mortal Kombat and like Starship Troopers at a very young age.
Sure.
And I remember the amount of nudity and violence in Starship Troopers at that age. I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
And my dad didn't cover my eyes. He was like, you're gonna end up seeing it.
Dude, I don't think anyone remembers this, but when we were kids, and I don't know if you remember, I listened to a podcast about this movie, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I totally remember this. The marketing campaign was very geared towards children. Yeah. It was very like, I want to say there were toys in Burger King Happy Meals, or in Burger King Kids Meals.
For Mortal Kombat?
No, for Starship Troopers.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
Because my dad took me to see that after school. I still have a poster for it.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, we're going to watch this, great. And then you see like a bunch of naked people in the shower. I was like, what's going on? And then you see like a guy have sex with a girl in a tent. I'm like, what's happening? He's like, oh, they're just sleeping over. I'm like, oh, okay.
They're just sleeping
That's
over.
what my dad told me. I'm like, all right.
Oh my gosh.
Like literally one of the most violent movies I saw at a young age.
It's so violent, man. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That movie, and I mean, I wasn't alive for this, but I was just listening to a podcast where they were talking about the marketing campaign for RoboCop.
Oh,
and it was the same thing, where like they had McDonald's toys, and then like people would go see it thinking it was a kids movie. There's people getting their dicks blown off in that movie. Like,
remember, like there's like a lady that pops a guy's eye out with her stiletto heel.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what the fuck?
It's the weirdest, most violent movie. It's so violent.
A lot of Paul Verhoeven films were like that though back in the day.
That's very true.
He did RoboCop. He did Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will say this: he was very colorful. I guess is the best word to use, because his movies look great, and there's a lot of color, especially the blood part of the color. But yeah, I mean, Starship Troopers was a weird kind of violence too, because it was alien blood and like guts, but it reminds me a lot of John Carpenter's The Thing. Yeah. Where you look at it, you know it isn't real, but all the sounds and the way that it looks, it's so gross and disgusting. Exactly. You know? And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so vile and gory. But yeah, so you saw Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers, Mortal Kombat, what was that? Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, why am I watching this? And my 8-year-old brain, I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, why is Ricky covered in that red stuff?
Yeah. Why is
everyone crying over Ricky? He's gonna be okay, right? He's just sleeping?
Yeah.
My mom's crying. Yeah, he's sleeping, honey. He's sleeping. And I'm like, all right, nobody. Jerry Maguire, like, the first thing you see is like him having sex with John Travolta's wife.
Yes.
Like, on the thing, I'm like, what's going on? So I'm just seeing all these things I'm not supposed to be seeing at a young age.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, like, is that why? And then I remember seeing, like, Fight Club, and I'm like, oh, this is a good film. Like, at a young age, I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I understand it.
Yeah, marketing was so different when we were kids. Marketing was very, I want to say, even, especially for rated R movies, a lot of the marketing was like, don't worry, you could take your kids to this. Exactly. And then it was always movies that we should never have seen.
Always deceptive, man.
Yeah, like that's how kids our age saw Alien and Jaws and things like that.
Think about like marketing overall in the 90s. Like think about the Army commercials where, I mean, we talked about this before, where you see a guy climb a mountain and then there's like a sword on top.
Yeah.
And he picks a sword out and he's wearing like dress blue Army uniform or Marine uniform and a flame demon from that, and he fights it with the sword and it's like, join the Marines.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Is this in a recruitment video or like a trailer for Lord of the Rings? Like, what's happening?
It's like a recruitment video that Mulan saw.
Exactly.
You know, where she's like, it's almost like the commercials like, hey, are you a man or what?
Exactly.
You know,
he's like, don't be a bitch.
Exactly.
At a young age.
And you're just like, I guess I. And then they have that song that be all that you can be in the army or whatever. Yeah, those. Oh my gosh.
The Capri Sun commercial confused me because I saw Terminator 2. The liquid metal looked just like the liquid in the Capri Sun commercial. Like you would turn into liquid drinking.
Yes.
And you're wondering, like, okay, I drank a Capri Sun at that age, thinking that would happen, and I would go through grates and stuff. And sneak out.
Yeah, I remember commercials for Skechers.
Right?
You remember the commercials for Skechers where they would run and they would skid and then sparks would come out? And I was like, oh man, I'm going to set everyone on fire. This is going to be great. And then they're just normal shoes, you know?
Mike, like you literally see a bully, I'm like, I'm going to teach that son of a bitch. You run, do it. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, sorry.
Very accurate.
Exactly.
This is another thing that we talked about in the previous podcast with, a couple of guests ago with Reggie. We talked about different earworms and things like that. So I told him about like old toy commercials and stuff like that. For some strange reason, and this is only going to play for people that are from South Florida, so if you're not from here, I'm sorry, but please understand that this earworm has never left my head, and it's the theme song for the Florida Center for Cosmetic Surgery. And it's like, naturally you're looking good. You look just like you dreamed you would. You're having fun, you're at your best, and all it took was just one look. Florida Center for Cosmetic Surgery. Just one look is worth 1,000 words. And then right when that would happen, I was too young to even understand what the commercial was for. I just saw girls in bikinis and they were running around and things like that. I even remember the last shot is a girl coming out of the pool, like jumping out of the pool, and it's like the camera almost jumps into her cleavage in a weird way. And when she jumps out, it quite literally looks like she's hiding 2 basketballs in her chest.
Really?
So I was like, is she playing basketball? I literally had no idea what the commercial was about. I was like, what is this for? Because it was like on Fox Kids. Like
really?
Yeah, it was like on during our block.
In the morning?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I remember like that, Kids WB, Shaolin Showdown.
Yeah.
Static Shock.
Oh my gosh, Static Shock.
Johnny Test, gotta beat me, superhero, gotta beat me. I'm like, what's going on? Yep. Shaquille O'Neal was on an episode. I'm like, Shaquille O'Neal?
Yep.
Like, come on, Static, let's go fight crime together. I'm like, people know you're a basketball player. Like, what do you like? They have secret identities. Let's do it, Shaq. And he's like dunking and stopping a crime. I'm like, oh, made a dunk. Oh my gosh, it's Shaq. Static Shock, someone distracts him. Like, it didn't make sense.
Shaq is awesome, and he's a great basketball player, or was, and I understand that he has charisma, but we gave him way too much.
Remember Kazam?
He didn't need to be in Kazam or Steel.
Did we need Kazam?
Did we need Steel? Did we need a rap album?
Did we need Shaq Fu?
Yeah,
Shaq Fu
did we need Shaq Fu on Sega Genesis? Absolutely not.
And they released another one like years later on. And then there's like a hidden minigame in it where Obama has like 2 handguns and he's gunning people down.
Exactly.
And he's like an anti-gun rights activist. So I'm like, all right, what's the message here?
Yeah. And I mean, he's very charismatic, and he's an amazing commentator. I love hearing him talk. Anytime he's on like a roast battle thing or whatever, he's always super fun. But I never liked any of his movies.
I can't blame you.
So, another thing that was really common in the 90s were movies starring animals.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
I remember like the one that sticks out the most is Air Bud.
Air Bud?
And was the Manimal in 2000? Was it Rob Schneider or was that 1999?
It was around 1999, early 2000.
Because I just want to understand why does Rob Schneider have a career? Right? Like, because it can't just be Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler could only do so much. Because I remember the Manimal, She's the Man.
Yeah. No, She's the Man. She's the Man is with Amanda Bynes.
Oh,
you're thinking of the hot chick.
The hot chick.
Yeah.
Hot chick.
Which
Deuce
that
Bigalow.
movie's actually really funny.
Yeah. And Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo.
Yeah.
And then there's just those 4, right?
There's Deuce Bigalow, male gigolo, Deuce Bigalow, European
Gigolo.
gigolo, and then I'm sure there's
Animal
other ones.
And the hot chick.
Which all 4 of those are really good. But other than that, he's kind of just been like the guy in an Adam Sandler movie, which like it's fine. You know, he's
you
not.
can do it. That's all
Yeah.
I remember him from.
The thing that I've noticed about him is he's somebody that is really funny in like increments.
Yeah, small doses.
Exactly. So like sometimes, like for example, one of the funniest things in Big Daddy is his character. Like the character that he plays, like the delivery guy, where he's talking to the kid and he's like, I had this cat and I had this other cat where he was so big that he bit my other cat's head off. And then the little kid is like, what kind of a cat would do that? And he's like, you calling me a liar? And just like immediately wants to punch this kid.
Yeah.
It's super funny.
And then like 50 First Dates where he's pretending to beat up Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And then Drew Barrymore like beats the shit out of him.
Yep. That's a good
I'm
one.
Like, and I'm literally like, all right, okay, Rob. And I'm like, why? Like, who would you say? And I'm sorry, Mike, to take you off subject.
No,
who
you're
would you
good.
say is worse, Rob Schneider or Kevin James? It's a hard one, right?
I actually think that Kevin James gets a really bad rap because this is just my personal opinion, but I think that a lot of people are judging him as a movie actor. And you're right, he's not all that good, but when he does TV,
King of Queens is great.
he's so good.
King of Queens, fantastic. Leia Remini, he was awesome.
Yeah, and I want to say that, King of Queens was, it was an unstoppable force with him as the lead. Yeah. But you add Leah Remini, you add Patton Oswalt, Jerry Stiller, all these actors, these amazing, Gary Valentine, all these.
Wasn't Ray Romano on there, like in a crossover?
Well, King of Queens is actually a crossover of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So, Everybody Loves Raymond, there's a couple of episodes where Kevin James plays his UPS delivery driver. And then there's an episode where they go golfing together, I believe. And then they become friends. And then they do like a crossover kind of event in the first season of King of Queens. And he comes back every now and again in King of Queens. And then recently he has this other show called Kevin Can Wait, or as everyone else calls it, King of Queens 2. And
It's what it is. It's Leia Remini's back.
Yeah.
Leia Remini's back.
They killed off the first wife, which, in my opinion, was an amazing actress. Yeah. She's really funny. She was on Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
She's really funny. But, yeah, they're like, let's just try it with Leah Remini this time.
Wasn't she on New Girl, too?
I want to say she was on New Girl as well. Man, one of the things that really bothered me about the new girl was starting this trend of the word adorkable.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, I'm awkward and I'm weird, and you're not, though, because you're pretty.
Exactly.
And awkward things don't happen to you.
Exactly. You know, I'm just like gorgeous, but like, you know, I'm just whatever with guys. And, you know, I live with like 7 guys and I have one beautiful black friend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what? Like what?
I have another awkward friend, and who's that? Megan Fox. And yeah, so
She'll live with us.
she lives with us. She's kind of weird, but
Exactly.
we deal with it, you know?
You know, she's gonna have sex with one of my friends, but it's cool.
Yeah,
fine.
it's
okay.
cool. It's not a huge deal.
Exactly.
Everyone I know is attractive.
Exactly. When you're around like sexy, attractive people, Mike, it's hard. It's hard. Like for me, I know it's easy for you because you're like big in like the Hollywood scene. So attractive
What are you talking about?
Attractive people are nothing to you. But like for me, it's like okay. Like I wish I had like the Jason burlap sack from Halloween. From Friday the 13th too, with like the eye hole in it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what I need to be wearing around these
That's
people.
not true
I
at
need
all.
to have it, or I need to have like sunglasses and like a bandana and like a beanie.
No,
so
that's
they can't
not.
see my face because it's like I don't know why I'm there.
That's not
I'm
true.
so nervous and I'm like you don't even know.
I'm the same way, man. I get super nervous around anyone, really. not even just girls. Yeah. Were you ever in like drama classes or anything like that?
I took drama my last year in high school.
Okay.
And I was taking like a bunch of electives because I already knew I was gonna have to take like math again in summer school, and I hated it. So like one of the electives was like drama because I was taking all my main courses throughout the years.
Yeah.
I transferred in, and I was like, all right, I just took drama, and then from drama I had to take like history of film and get out of weight training, and I because I was doing weight training.
Dude,
and like
history
weight training,
of film.
Yeah, I will tell you. All we did was watch movies in different genres. So, like, we saw, like, The Dictator, and then we saw Saving Private Ryan.
Really?
Yeah, we saw Saving Private Ryan, and then we saw Schindler's List. It was just, like, random movies.
Guys, I'm going to show you the
curriculum.
first black and white movie ever made. It's Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. Like, I'm pretty sure there's older movies than that.
I was watching it, and then we had to get permission to see it.
What?
because of the nudity in it.
Oh yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, we had to get permission from my parents. Yeah, all the kids had to get permission from my parents to see. I'm kidding. We all had to get permission to see if we could see Schindler's List. I want to say, and I want to say there was another one that we saw that was real popular, like one of those popular Holocaust movies. Which is, it's really weird that there was a time in our lives.
Movie.
Yeah, it's really weird that there's such a thing as popular Holocaust movies.
Like, why are you repeatedly making movies about a genocide of a people? Like,
Yeah.
Why are you, like, let's just show that so we can't allow it to happen again, but, like, you're making people relive that experience every time you make it.
To be fair, though, I think for a while a lot of people were making it, and then Spielberg made Schindler's List, and people were like, don't need to make it anymore.
Like, The Pianist came out, and then Schindler's List came out. I'm like, you're done.
Yeah, you don't need to see anything else. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
You know? So, and if black and white stuff bothers you, The Pianist is perfectly fine. And that movie's just as sad and horrible.
And the thing that stands out for me was, like, I was watching the Schindler's List, and I was like, I'm like, gosh, this is horrible.
Of
Because I
course.
was crying during that film. And then I was watching Saving Private Ryan, and I was crying for different reasons, because I was crying laughing at the scene where Vin Diesel gets killed by the sniper.
Sure. Because
going
you
after
saw him
the-
as Dom.
Yeah. And I was like, why is Dom from the Fast and the Furious here? And
Tell
this
my
is-
family
this
I
is
love them.
free. Yeah. He's like, the family's gonna need the letter. I gotta get this. And he gets shot like 3 times. And Tom Hanks picks the letter up. He's like, I did it for them. And Vin Diesel just contorts and dies. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God,
And
that's
just
so
Vin
funny.
Diesel.
Oh no. He just dies in
gone.
slow motion. He just his last word is Corona, like
Corona. That's what it was?
Yeah.
Because those movies are preposterous, Mike. I would want to watch those. Like, remember, like, your last day of school, a teacher will BS and just put a movie in.
Yeah,
I remember
that.
it was like one time was Napoleon Dynamite, and then like one time it was like American Pie, and then like one time it's like the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift.
How in the world would a teacher be okay with you watching American Pie
No one
at
was paying
school?
attention. Someone sneaks it in there because sometimes those videos are unlabeled, so they'll just put shit in there. American Pie ended up in there, and like, the teacher walks out, and we see someone fucking a pie, and he comes in. I was like, "What's this?" And then like another time, Mike was, have you seen Hancock?
I have.
Do you remember like the scene where he has sex with the girl and then he's coming and it's shooting holes in the train? We watched that like my last day of high school, and the teacher's watching it. He's like, "Are you supposed to be watching this?" Because this is him coming and shooting holes in the roof of the train. Because like they're like, don't miss the ball. Teachers aren't paying attention.
Were you an MTV guy as well? Did you watch
I
MTV?
remember watching like a lot of MTV back in the day.
Yeah.
Like because if you look at it, when you're transitioning from like Toon Disney and Fox Kids and Kids WB,
Yeah,
and
Cartoon
Nick
Network.
at Night, Cartoon Network, like MTV was kind of like almost going from our parents' era to becoming our era.
Sure.
With things like Pimp My Ride, and I think we did what was the one?
Pimp My
Remember
Ride,
Pimp
dude.
My Ride?
Dude, that show was redonkulous.
Like, yo, it's me, Exhibit.
Hey, man, we heard you like coffee, so we put a Starbucks in the back of your car.
Hey, yo, I heard you watch movies. There's a TV in your dashboard. I'm like, okay, what?
Isn't that going to cause an accident? Hey, man, I heard you like fish, so we put an entire aquarium in the back of your car.
How am I supposed to feed him? Don't worry about it.
That's the other thing, too. The guy that made all the interior, he was obsessed with cashmere.
Exactly.
So he was like, we got cashmere interior. Every episode was cashmere interior.
All of them.
Every single episode.
I remember like, hey, yo, did you do hydraulics? No, I didn't. You got hydraulics. Like, for no reason.
Hey, we heard you like video games. I didn't say that. We put 3 Xboxes in the back of your car.
You're like, you have an Escalade now. What? They would upgrade the car randomly?
I gave you a Fiat. They're like, you got an Escalade now. I'm Exhibit.
All of them. That was like when Exhibit was trying to start a film career.
I remember
like,
that.
Triple X to say to them, you're like, hey, yo, they say like I'm like the next Tupac, and you know I'm getting those comparisons, and I'm like the next Tupac Exhibit.
I don't know about that, X. Sorry.
Calm down.
Not
The
for
wrong-
me, dog.
Maybe the wrong X. Maybe DMX, not Exhibit.
So you took some acting classes when you were in high school and things like that. When did you start getting into comedy?
I was doing comedy after I transferred schools, because like before I went to Georgia Southern, which is in Statesboro, Georgia.
Yeah.
I went to Clark Atlanta University, where my mom worked, and I remember like one time this guy was ragging on me, and I was watching Wild 'N Out, and I was literally like, I said the guy was from Indiana, so I'm like, gosh, man, I feel bad for you because you're like, you're from Indiana. You look like you emerged from a dumpster, like some sort of dumpster genie. And then I just popped up and did like a dumpster genie thing and opened up like a cabinet, and people laughed. And I was like, hey, look at the dumpster. The dumpster genie's walking off. And then he left, and I just threw like powder as he walked by to show the dumpster trail of him leaving.
So while you were at Georgia Southern, I know that you started getting into stand-up and things like that. Who were some of your inspirations? I know Richard Pryor was a big one for you.
Richard Pryor, Dick Gregory, Red Fox, and then like an obvious one from like everyone knows, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Chappelle Show. Like what Richard Pryor was back in the day, Chappelle Show is responsible for like the resurgence of like stand-ups coming up, I think, today.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like a lot of us, maybe some people will come just through the musical theater or whatever and discover comedy that. But if you saw Chappelle Show and you were like in a single parent home or whatever, or you had like black relatives and you're watching it, he inspired you to make you a comedian. Because like, he would do stand-up segments and then those would segue into sketches. And I didn't know what sketches were back then. I just knew that, oh my gosh, I love the stand-up thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I was just watching old Chappelle Show episodes and watching Richard Pryor stand-up and like documentaries and stuff on Richard Pryor. And I'm just thinking like how he got started. So I remember like the first time I did stand-up, I did it like when I was 19, when he started when he was 19. And it wasn't like in a big room. It was just like the college I was at, Georgia Southern, would do like an open mic in an open area for where everyone would hang out. And I just talked about how like I was imagining one area of the audience naked over the other one because it was full of women, and they all laughed. Like, listen, I'm gonna imagine you guys naked because they said if you're nervous, imagine people naked. So I'm gonna imagine you guys naked. Unfortunately, it's full of women. I'm sorry. And I laughed, and everyone laughed, and then I got the confidence. And then someone like scouted me for the school's comedy club, which was just a bunch of black people that gathered together, and the one white guy named Dan that we had for security reasons.
Sure.
Just so he could talk to security and be like, hey, nothing, we're not selling drugs or doing anything, we're just talking about comedy.
Yeah. That's really funny.
And then I was like, through them, I would just do stand-up, and I would just get rides because I didn't have a car. I would do stand-up in like downtown Statesboro in like the back room of like a bar where everyone has started off like done stand-up at some bar at some point.
Yeah.
And I was just doing it, and I was just doing them for only black rooms. And then, like, from there, like, someone from the university saw us, and we just started doing small shows for the university, and I would just go in and open for people. And then that's when they were like, oh, you got to go in with, like, a nickname. I'm like, what's wrong with just Jeremy? I'm like, you just said it. Just Jeremy. I was like, all right. So I sarcastically said, okay, how about I'm the sexiest member of the school's comedy club? And I said it sarcastically. He was like, all right. And it's like, the self-proclaimed sexiest member of the school comedy club. I'm like, and then I just go up there and I'm like, it's good to know that you think of me that way. And I just threw it back at him.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
Everybody laughed from that. And I was just like, I just learned how to think on my feet from doing stand-up back then.
Yeah.
And then I would just do it intermittently throughout the years while I was working and everything, and while I was in school taking classes.
Something that I think is so interesting about the way that you do stand-up is you bring a lot of improv to stand-up, in that you can watch Jeremy do stand-up and you might only get to see that set once in your entire life. And that's kind of what makes it really fun, is like, what's Jeremy going to joke about this time? You know, I feel like if you had a Netflix hour and they shot 365 hours, they would all be different. Yeah. You wouldn't have the same joke.
It would change with the day.
Yeah.
Because like with me, I know people say you got to work on material because people like you can't have like you can't have like this. People have to know what you're gonna say, but like it's kind of like listening to music now.
Yeah.
If I know the lyrics of a song, it's hard for me to enjoy like as if I've listened to the song for the first time. Whereas if I'm doing stand up, I know the general outline of what I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna talk about. I just don't know how I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
And I know people that will write jokes out, and I used to do that, but memorizing what I wrote out was like literally like killing the purpose of it, because I'd be stressed out about missing wording and screwing up wording, which happens with improvising it, but at least with improvising it, I can just literally distract with something else and then get back into the joke later through like a story or whatever, segue back into it. Whereas if I'm writing it, I'm fucked for the rest of the day, because like, damn it, this set and routine that I've practiced over and over again in front of the mirror is ruined now. What am I gonna do? Because that's a safety net. Writing it down and memorizing it is a safety net. Whereas if I'm just running free, anything can happen. If they laugh, they laugh. If they don't laugh, they don't laugh. I just know that I tried. I just know what works, and then I'll just check it off on the thing and say, hey, this segment worked. This segment didn't work. Like, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, yeah, I've beaten you this many times. I'm like, yeah, but you also look like you're in charge of programming at PBS, so does that victory mean anything? Does that victory mean anything?
There's a couple of Jeremy sets that run in my mind, and they're just palpable with how funny they are. I remember there was one time where you were like, guys, I'm just really excited about this new phrase that I made up called, I'm just going to let my nuts hang. And you would say things, and you'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to let my nuts hang. I don't remember the context. Do you remember?
I literally, like, I heard a radio interview where a rapper was like, yo, man, you know, like, I do whatever I want. Like, you tell me I'm banned, I'm going to show up and let my nuts hang. Like, right then and there. Like, oh, I'm banned from L.A., I'm banned in New York. I'll come off that plane, nuts hanging in New York and L.A., ban these nuts. And I was like, gosh, I want to use it. Like, literally, I can't go to the woman's restroom. I'll put my nuts on the sink and stand in the woman's restroom. Don't tell me what the fuck I can't do.
Another one of my favorite bits was this bit where you were talking about Disney Channel original movies, and there's a movie called
The Color of Friendship.
The Color of Friendship. Yeah. And you were talking about how the basketball team is all white kids, and there's a new black kid that comes into town, but none of them want to play basketball. And you're like, he's obviously going to be the best basketball player. Why would it?
I think the state was like Delaware. I'm like, even in Delaware, like they would want a basketball player. They have I'm assuming they have a football team.
Yeah.
They have teams where they're gonna need a black person to save the day.
Exactly.
I've been the only black person on an all-white basketball team. I can tell you the amount of pressure was on my back. Living in Maryland, are you kidding me?
I'm
Jeremy,
sure.
you're gonna do it. I bought you some new shoes, Jeremy. You got it, Jeremy. Here's some Gatorade, Jeremy. Like they're making sure I'm energized, I'm safe, I'm emotionally taken care of. Like, damn, I was so worried because they're investing a lot. When you're the only minority in any circumstances, a lot is on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, Mike, imagine if you were playing Little League Baseball and you're on a team full of, like, kids from Ireland or from England.
Right.
Imagine the amount of pressure on you because you're Mike Valdes.
Right.
Because you're from Latin America, you're just a phenom on the baseball field.
Yeah.
You're going to catch, hit the ball, home run.
Oh, he's going to be great. He's Latin. He should be amazing at baseball.
Exactly.
And it's like, no, not really.
Not really.
Not at all.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Speaking of Disney Channel original movies,
Gosh.
what were some of your favorites?
So many. The 13th year.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The one where the black family where they were all superheroes and the little kid wasn't, and they were allergic to aluminum. And E from Entourage was the villain. Remember? E from Entourage was like the main villain of it.
What's so funny is that I remember this, but I don't at the same time. And everything you're saying sounds like it could be a Disney Channel original movie. Because that's the thing, too. Like, a lot of these Disney Channel original movies, you could kind of tell the premise of the movie just based on the title. Yeah. Like, my grandmother's a toaster. Yeah. And you're like, all right, well, I know what this movie's about.
Exactly. There was one where, like, remember there was like an alien spaceship in the backyard and it was invisible and it looked like a treehouse.
Was that Xenon?
No, Xenon was like with Kristen
No, that was
Storm.
different. That was like a... She was like, she went to like an academy or something, right?
In space.
Yeah.
And she had like her godparents up there, and then she had her regular parents, and then like Johnny.
She had godparents and then space parents and then devil parents.
Remember HE double hockey stick?
Yes, I remember HE double hockey sticks.
Like Disney had a movie called Hell, and they used HE double hockey sticks.
It's true, and it was a hockey movie.
Streaming service on Disney Plus. I hope Hell is on there. We'll remind them. Like, remember HE double hockey sticks?
They better unlock that vault of Disney Channel original movies, man.
Johnny Tsunami.
Yeah, I want to see You Lucky Dog starring Kirk Cameron.
Right? You Lucky Dog.
Yeah. I want to see Life is Rough with Corey from Corey in the House.
Oh my God, wait. Which one was the one where Shia LaBeouf was mentally challenged?
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's like...
Remember what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
He was pretending to be mentally... He was like... Please forgive me. I'm not making fun of mentally challenged people. But when you look it up, you will see.
It seems like he is.
Yeah, he's like.
Yeah, it's very insensitive. Actually, it's a very insensitive performance.
It was horrible. I was watching it and I was like, is this how they act?
Yeah, even as a kid, you're like, I don't know if this is right.
I'm watching it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then the other me with the Lawrence brothers, Andy.
Yes,
Lawrence,
with Andrew Lawrence. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man! And then there's another one with all three of them, and all three of them are cowboys or something.
Yeah.
They all get like shipwrecked in the beginning.
Exactly.
They even had a show on Disney Channel called Brotherly Love.
Yeah.
Remember that show?
Brotherly Love.
Oh my gosh.
Smart guy, sister.
Smart guy is great. That's
He's
a really
smart guy.
Smart guy.
Smart guy.
Yeah.
Smart guy. Oh my God.
Speaking of sister, I met Marcus Houston when I was out in LA.
What?
Yeah, I went and some hip hop station was doing a thing where they were like, we're going to have comedy and then we're going to have Marcus Houston and he's going to like sing his songs and going to sing like Mattress Music, all of his songs. I love his music. I actually think he's an amazing singer. So there was a comedy show and everyone did their set and then it had to have been like 3 hours after the comedy show. The show ran so late and I just remember he came in and he sang like maybe 4 or 5 songs. Like it was way too short of a set. My favorite moment of that entire night was his encore. He did Naked, right? Of course, you have to do Naked if you're Marcus Houston. So he's doing it, and he's like, when those panties hit the floor. And then you just heard one voice, which was mine, go, flow. And he just like, and I was like, I hope that you're ready, you know, like whatever. And I'm doing all the harmonies, and he can hear me doing all the harmonies. And he points at me and goes, that's my dog right there. And I'm like, ah! Like, I almost fainted, dude. I was so happy.
That sounds amazing.
And then right after the show, I ended up meeting him. He was there with like a bunch of security. And I don't think you understand how many girls were like chasing him. It was ridiculous. That like there were so many girls like chasing him, like, oh my God, it's freaking Roger. Like whatever. They're all like running for the guy from Sister Sister. And I just go, hey Marcus. And then he looks back for a second, and then he sees that it's me. And then he goes, hey, I'm gonna go back there. And then he just walks back from the parking lot towards me. And then we start talking, and he's just like, hey, man, what's your name? So much charisma, man. I was like, look, dude, I'm not gay, but I get it. You know what I mean?
I'm
like,
not gay, but I get it.
But I'm just saying, and I told my best friend that story, and he's like, dude, are you serious? And I'm like, you weren't there.
Exactly.
You don't understand how attractive that guy is in real life. Like, he is so charismatic. He didn't have to be charismatic for me. I'm just a dude.
Exactly.
You know? Like, and he's a married man, you know?
Does he have kids? Like, I think he has kids.
I'm pretty sure he has kids. I know he's married for sure. Anyway, all that to say, Sister, right? That was a show. Let's go back to childhood a little bit. What was your favorite breakfast cereal?
It's a tough one because it's like when you ate Fruity Pebbles, they were good, but you remembered, like, there would be blood in your mouth. Right? You was like...
It would tear the roof of your mouth?
Yeah. Like,
Captain Crunch was bad with that.
Captain Crunch was hell.
It was the worst.
Did your parents like, you want Captain Crunch? You're like, yeah. And you remember it.
Crunchitize me, Captain. Oh, God.
And then I just remember, like, I didn't think Kicks were that bad. And then I saw Donald Glover's, like, see that you knew the Kicks. And I'm like, yep.
Yep, they're like the hand job of cereals.
Yep.
Yep. Because they're a little sweet.
Honeycombs, I have to say, like, was the least painful eating as a kid. Honeycombs. Right? Because honeycombs weren't that bad.
Yeah. They weren't. You're definitely right. Yeah. Do you remember cereal commercials?
Oh, are you kidding me?
Like those commercials where they basically made the cereal seem like it was a drug?
Yeah.
Like
Tony the Tiger.
Tony the Tiger.
The kid would come out of nowhere like in a forest. Like, hey, kids!
Yeah. Did you see the Corn Pops commercials? You remember those?
Oh, you kidding? Of course I did.
I don't know if you remember this, but...
Gotta have my Pops!
Yeah, I gotta have my Pops. I don't know if you remember this, but the main commercial was a kid who's being like yelled at for getting a bad report card by his parents, and they're like, that's it, no more Corn Pops. And like the whole time he's drowning his parents yelling at him, and he's just like, but what am I gonna do without these these Corn Pops and blah blah blah. Turns out, which by the way, if you do any scientific research as to the 5 symptoms of addiction, it checks off all 5. Exactly. I'm not kidding, it does. And also, the kid was Aaron Paul. So that Corn Pops commercial was a prequel to Breaking Bad.
Remember, he was on The Price is Right?
Yeah. He was
like, Bob!
Yeah.
I love you,
Bob!
Yeah! Like, John Hamm was on a dating show. Like, I remember watching them, like, going back earlier in their careers.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he was a waiter named John Hamm. He's an aspiring actor. And you're like, what year was this? 2000?
Dude, he had, like, that droopy, like, theater curtain hair.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. It was awful. So... You were talking about how much you liked Honeycomb and Fruity Pebbles and things like that. So you liked obviously all the good ones. So here's what I did, Jeremy. I talked to my sponsors over at Funko. And by sponsor, I mean I like them and I buy their products. And by talk to, I mean I tweeted them repeatedly, and then they made a product that I was going to buy anyway and brought it to you.
Yes.
So
you're a good friend.
I usually like to pick a cereal that is a little bit obscure and most people haven't seen before. And I also like to pick a cereal that has a little bit to do with my guest in some way, shape, or form. So the cereal that I have chosen for you, Jeremy, is Funko brand Ghostbusters Slimer cereal.
Nice!
Another part of the bit that we like to do is we like to review the cereal. It would be fun to review the cereal, but what will be more fun is for you to review the cereal as Slimer.
Of course.
That's way more fun. So that's what I'm going to have you do. So I'm going to open this box.
Did he even talk, though? Because I just thought he just smiled and just appeared and left goo everywhere.
Well, this is what's super fun, just like the episode that I just did with Reggie, where we did Mega Man cereal.
Nice.
Mega Man, like Slimer, has never spoken. So you can make him sound like whatever you want. But I'm going to go ahead, open this box, and I'm going to mic the cereal going into my Reptar cereal bowl for all the ASMR weirdos that like to loop those things and put them as their ringtone or whatever they like to do. So give me just a moment here. Whenever you're ready.
What have we found here? Oh, such a strange menagerie of greenness here. Oh, plenty of sensations grace the lips into intermorsels of my mouth. Oh, I'm reminded of living. I'm but a simple ghost, hidden away in the deep recesses of your memory as I'm getting lost in the flavors. Ugh. Forgive me in my indulgence. It's been such a long time before I've had such a ravishing, delicious treat. As I was saying before, I was but a simple man, working in the coal mines and upstate New York. My fiancée, Broomhilda, was at home, making preparations for us to be wed. But the mine foreman told me, he said, you'll be working a triple shift tonight. If you want to be able to afford that wench you call a wife. And I told him, you will respect my woman, good sir. Oh, I'm being invigorated, reminded of the earlier days. Oh, yes. One late night I come home to strange noises. I open the door to find them in an embrace. Broomhilda the foreman. In my blind rage, I struck out. I struck the mean foreman down. His head caved in like a ball of jelly. Hilde looked to me. She said, hey, you've gone too far. What shall we do now? I said, we shall do nothing. And I hit her in the throat with the pickaxe. A quick story, hitting someone in the throat with a pickaxe is very difficult.
Gotta turn over the next one.
It takes a few swings, but once they're in there, you can't get them out.
I want you to tell me.
Anyway, I burned our cabin down. I walked calmly back to the mine, and I continued to work. A few days later, the men from the town came and told me what happened to Broomhilda and the foreman. They asked me how I felt.
Slimer,
I told them nothing.
Slimer, I hate to interrupt this very great story,
Yes, young Michael.
but how does the cereal taste?
Oh! I'm reminded of candy delights from the youth of my childhood. And go to the mini carnivals of my Uncle Augustus. We would sit and watch a baseball game, and I'd rejoice in the Cracker Jacks and the Pop and Boppers. Very delicious. You see, we were a low-income family. We could not afford but frozen sugar cubes and fermented pond water. Oh, yes. I do appreciate a good cereal. Back in my day, we didn't have cereal.
What did you have?
We had cream sweetener. And how much you'd be asking, what were you sweetening you at? For nothing. What sweetener can keep you up during the morning? Or nights? Up to you. Oh.
That's Slimer from Ghostbusters, ladies and gentlemen. I never thought that asking Slimer how a cereal tasted would send me down a rabbit hole of how his wife and he died. Because at the end of the day, he is a ghost, so he had to have died somehow. But it was nice to know that he had a beautiful wife named Broomhilda. That's really nice to know. So let's talk about comedy now.
Yeah, I remember Donald Glover. I watch his old stuff.
Yeah.
And it's depressing for me only for the fact that he's not doing comedy anymore.
Oh, I know.
It's depressing because Weirdo and his Comedy Central Presents special were like my two of the, like, I would watch those when I would get up in the morning and go to bed at night.
Yeah.
Because it was that good. Like the Niggardly story,
Mm-hmm.
that one. Donald from Spider-Man. Like, I want to see Michael Cera play Shad. So I'm like, please cast Michael Cera as Shad.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that bit.
Yeah.
Every time I see those specials, I'm always reminded that that's what I want to do on stage, is that I want to tell stories and have little, like, pop culture references and little characters and different voices and put music in it, like, all these different things. He was, like, the main person that I was like, this is who I'd like to be, you know. And then, granted, I started seeing some other people like Mike Birbiglia and Hassan Minaj and Neil Brennan and Dave Chappelle, where they can be super silly, and then there's moments where they get really vulnerable, and it kind of takes the audience aback a little bit because they're just like, wow, I was hearing all this funny stuff, and now he's making this really good point about this thing. So, do you have anything coming up within the next month or two? Any shows or anything?
I would say right now I'm working on material.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just do stuff at like Windward Brew because we're gonna do like a weekly open mic just to practice.
Yeah.
And then go to Red Bar again.
Yeah.
And then from Red Bar try to do things at Taurus. Not Taurus, but the Craftsman.
Oh yeah, the
over
Craftsman.
in Brickell.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe end up in Doral, but I don't want to go there because I don't want to go through 11 Sun Passes and then have to pay for parking in whatever that fucking building is, and then
Right.
go upstairs and then hope the people I ask to come show up to wait to be able to go up, or if they don't go up, wait 45 minutes. But behind bad or good sets, and then go for like 11 people that are shit-faced.
Yeah, that's true. But that's just performing in Miami.
Yeah.
That's kind of just what it is. You're still doing improv, right?
Yeah.
Cool, man. So you can catch Jeremy all over the place. I know you're not really like a social media guy, but do you have a social media handle?
I'm at Bugatti_spaceship on Instagram, or my good buddy Mike Valdes is in one of the. Weren't you in one or two Bugatti shorts we did?
I think like I died in a couple of
I think we died. I think we both died. Remember, I
pretty
died.
sure.
I got brought back to life and then died again.
Man, let me tell you something. I just want you to know, and I want the listeners to know. When I would do Bugatti Spaceship, which is the improv sketch team that Jeremy created, it was some of the most fun I've ever had. We did so many things. Like, we did an improvised episode of The Office. We did an improvised episode of Power Rangers. One of my favorites was we improvised an entire Disney Channel original movie.
Oh my gosh, you're a Tanner and you're doing parkour.
Yeah.
Like, parkour, doing flips.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
everything was extreme. There was that. I forgot what the suggestion of the movie was.
We did Roach, and then Jeff Jean was like a black roach or something like that.
It was something about roaches. Like,
Yeah.
I forget. Like, there's a roach in my cereal or something. That was the title. And then we made this movie about kids that are really into extreme parkour, and they are friends with like talking roaches from space. It was really dumb, but so much fun. There was that. I mean, we did so many fun things. You were one of the most fun people to perform with on stage, and you're definitely one of the most fun people to watch on stage doing stand-up, because it can be anything, and that's like one of the most fun things about Jeremy.
I just don't like to be predictable.
Yeah.
That's why, like, on my comedy page on YouTube, and I don't want to do another plug, but It's Jeremy Berges Comedy, so it's very easy to find.
Yeah.
I'm the only Jeremy Berges on YouTube other than like a French skateboarder / model.
Who's
Like,
also
he's
you. You're just a French
He's
skateboard
he has
model.
blonde hair and blue eyes, and I'm brown, and we stand up in Miami and have like a very, very long game, let's play videos that I'm putting up now to go with the stand-ups. You never know what you're going to get with my YouTube.
Yeah, man. This has been an episode. We have talked about so many different things. It's been so much fun. You can find me at whoismikevaldes.com, and you can also find the answer to that question by going to that website. You can find me on Instagram at Mike Valdes. You can find me at Twitter at I am Mike Valdes. Subscribe to the podcast, Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher. We're pretty much everywhere. So subscribe, write a review. Unless it's something bad, then keep it to yourself. Thank you so much for listening, and join me next week when I speak with another person.